All right, everyone. It is Friday, and you know what that means. It is time for Stop Being the Best Kept Secret, where we're going to be sharing great stories of manufacturers working to improve their businesses. Today we're doing SEO success for manufacturers. We're going to be talking about Imago Manufacturing teams with IMEC and B2Btail. Let's go, Kurt. I'm your co-host, Damon Pistolka, and that pretty gentleman right over there, I can't get my finger right, is Kurt Anderson, co-host, and he's going to take it away.
Damon, happy Friday, dude. How was your week?
It was great. Man,
what a great way to cap off the week with these two handsome devils. My goodness gracious. So, all right, let's start with it. Like, you know, he's got to like totally show off. He did this on purpose. He's just firing up the Mohawk just because I'm here today. So look at that bad boy. Ryan Bankel, dude, Imago Manufacturing, founder, CEO extraordinaire. How are you, dude?
Good to see you guys. Always a pleasure. Yeah, Chris, I can't even say it. Got the Mohawk nice and crisp today for you guys.
Yeah,
man, it just looks.
It does.
Man, that thing's just rocking. Doug, where's your Mohawk today?
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I don't have enough hair to be a Mohawk.
Yeah. Mine would be like a. You know what? Mine would just be a mo. Yeah, just a fucking mo. Like it'd be about this big. So, all right. So, Doug Pennington from IMEC. Doug, welcome, dear friend. How are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me to this. I tell you, I've been a fan of these podcasts for a while. I've been watching these things. You and Damon put on some great shows, and I'm really happy to be a part of it this time.
Well, thank you, man. I know you're a busy guy. It's helping manufacturers all over the great state of Illinois. And, and it's long overdue, right, Doug? Because my goodness gracious, we've had enough of your colleagues, your teammates, your coworkers. So it's just an honor and privilege to have you on. So, Ryan, I'm going to open things up. There's a little question that I have for you. I don't know if you're prepared for this one. Are you sitting down? Are you ready for this?
I was born prepared, man. Come on, let's go.
There we go.
Ryan, let's go here, man. Before you got into manufacturing, let's go way back, or even like before the Mohawk even, right?
Yeah.
So when you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who did you look up to? Who did you admire? Who was your hero when you were a little guy growing up?
I don't think I had one, honestly. I
Sports hero, coach, teacher, uncle, anybody come to mind? The Fonz, or you're probably too young for that. So
no, I'm Fonz era. When I was really little, I don't honestly have much of a recollection of, like I don't remember a single teacher I've ever had. And it wasn't because of childhood trauma or anything. I just don't remember it. The one guy I always looked up to, I was pretty into surfing when I was in high school. So I always liked Kelly Slater. He's I think a year older than me, 11-time world champ, and I always thought he was pretty cool and good style. Obviously, the best surfer of all time, professionally. So that's probably the only guy that I've really looked up to. And then, now that I'm an adult, I don't look up to anybody. I just try and look up to myself. So
that's right. And Carrie, right? Just so you look up we got to say, give a shout out to Carrie, right?
Well, she's only like 5'1", so I kind of look down to her. So, being a foot taller than her, it's kind of hard to look up to her. But.
That's right. So you're a big dude. So, all right. So great answer. Thank you, Doug. We had a wonderful conversation. So I don't know if this is our conversation from the other day. We're going old school baseball. When you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who did you look up to?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess most people would say, their dad, and I did, but probably it was a cross between my grandfather and Bob Gibson of the old St. Louis Cardinals. I grew up when I was a little kid in Missouri, and my grandparents lived next door, and one of my first memories was sitting next to my grandfather in his rocking chair listening to Cardinal baseball games, because he was an avid fan. And he had a rocking chair with a little table on it, and with a little table in front of it and a radio on top of it. And that was his entertainment center, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I used to listen to the games. And so all my heroes were Cardinals, and, you know, Bob Gibson and Lou Brock and Ken Boyer. And, you know, it kind of dates me a little bit, but you know, that's what I remember. That's what I remember looking up to.
I tell you, Damon, I knew you were going to. So Doug shared that with that. We chatted the other day, and he shared that story with me, and I just love that story, man.
I can remember that there's something about when you grow up, you know, older and watch and listening to baseball on radio.
Yep.
And you know, it is something because, and I'm really lucky. My son's 26 and I passed it on to him because we would do it in the car when we were driving around when he was playing baseball younger. Yeah. And there is something special because like you're sitting there thinking, I remember laying in my bedroom. I had an old AM radio listening to the Twins, and Kirby Puckett was playing back then, and listening to them, and just those memories are just like in stone in your head. So
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, another little tidbit at that time when the Cardinals, their announcer was Harry Carey.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, Harry Carey was the announcer, and the backup announcer was Jack Buck. I mean, it's just like two legends in the business, and that's who I grew up listening to. So
yeah, it's awesome.
It's kind of a high bar to
and just legendary teams and just Bob Gibson. So Doug, thank you for sharing that. Big shout out to Grandpa. And so, all right, wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing that. Just a little question that we'd love to ask. Ryan, let's come at you, my friend. So you get out of high school. What attracted you to manufacturing? You just long time, you've been, you know, you're just guy with your hands. Why did you pursue a career in manufacturing?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a hands-on kind of guy. I liked, you know, putting stuff together, building stuff, tearing it apart, seeing how it works. And I was kind of not the college-bound kind of person at the time. And so I was working at a plastics place, doing machine changeovers and stuff, and hanging around their tool room where they're building the molds and stuff. And they, I like the guys. They're all fun and, you know, good group of guys. And I just like the idea of, instead of, you know, they seemed like they enjoyed what they did. And so, you know, and back then this was, you know, probably early 2000s. No, I'm sorry. This would be early 90s. I forget how old I am sometimes, but this was early 90s. And it was kind of one of those things where, you know, everybody said, hey, if you're a journeyman machinist, you'll always have a career and a good paying career. You can move anywhere in the United States and get a job, you know, and that appealed to me. You know, I didn't really have a lot of direction or a particular career path at that point. So it was appealing to me. So I found an apprenticeship as an injection mold maker, and quickly realized that it was a mistake. I hated it. I swore that I would never, once I got out of it, never touch a machine tool ever again. And, you know, and it was unfortunate because what I figured out is that I didn't, you know, I didn't hate machining. I hated the place I worked, my boss. In that particular place, it was a very small shop, similar to mine. But from day one, I was working on production molds. So as an apprentice with no machining experience, I was not allowed to make mistakes. And as you guys probably could corroborate, that's where you learn. If you don't make mistakes, that's where all the valuable lessons lie, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was very pressure packed, and the way it was handled was not great. I wasn't given any encouragement. It was just kind of like, what are you doing? You know, he made me feel stupid, incompetent. just not a very good environment to foster, growth and development in somebody. So, imagine coming to work every day and just being scared shitless that you're going to make a mistake on everything, and then it's going to set back a tool, a week, 2 weeks, a month, because they have to either, depending on where you made the mistake, order new material or have it welded, whatever. So it was just not a great learning environment. And I guess it is a good learning environment because I know what not to do with my own employees and myself, and understanding that there's a great learning opportunity in the mistakes. So, I kind of shifted gears and swore off machining, and ended up going to college and getting an associate's degree and then eventually a bachelor's degree. And it kind of just, sucked me back in, because at the end of the day, I loved it. It was just, I found a different outlet for it that I was able to excel at. So that's kind of, that's how I got into it. I lasted about a year and a half there, and then got a job driving a truck while I put myself through school. So, it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree, but I worked full time. I lived by myself. I paid for my own education. I supported myself at a very young age, so, it was not your traditional path, but I can say with certainty that I've not done anything the traditional way. I'm just one of those people that has to do everything the hard way. You just ask my mom, she'd be like, when I was a kid, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And I would touch the stove just to that's the way I am,
To see if it really is hot.
Yeah, right. It's like, she wasn't lying. So it's just kind of how I've always been. I need to make the mistakes to learn from them. And being in a place where I was forbidden to make mistakes just wasn't conducive to my learning or my success. So, fast forward, finished school, and then ended up working for my stepfather in his machine shop, and got an opportunity to wear a lot of hats there and figure out, what aspects of the business that I liked and didn't like. I did like creating stuff with my hands, but I also liked working with people. I liked growing the business. I loved the marketing aspect of it. I mean, that was what my emphasis was in college, was in marketing. So I got a business administration degree with a marketing emphasis, IT minor, and that's kind of really what I think of myself as. Is I'm not necessarily a machinist. I'm a good machinist. I'm an entrepreneur that just happens to be in the machining business, So that's kind of how I've always looked at it. There's a lot of really good machinists out there that aren't great at running businesses, and vice versa, So I've really tried to bridge that gap between the, competency in machining. I've always found, and I hope people aren't offended by this, but the better the machinist, the less that they can relate to humans, the more they relate to machines. I've worked with a ton of them, and like the more antisocial and machine oriented they are, the better the machinists they are. But those aren't good skills when you're trying to grow a business, manage other people, talk to customers, earn their trust. So that's I think where I recognized, at the beginning, that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to be able to grow the business to the point where, I could do stuff like this and talk to people like you and get my message out there and grow the business. And that's what's exciting to me, is that the thrill of the hunt, finding new customers, getting those new orders, running them through the shop, and, just winning like that. So.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Absolutely love it. So, and one of my favorite lines is, entrepreneur who just happens to be running a machine shop, and And right, you just it doesn't seem like you're a guy that marches to a beat of a different drum, right, Damon? Not whatsoever, right?
Yeah,
The Mohawk. So, all right.
What's the clue?
Yeah, just what I'm good thing I'm not a detective. So Doug, let's come over to you. All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. We are here with Ryan Bankel, the founder, CEO extraordinaire of Imago Manufacturing. We have Doug Pennington from IMEC, the Illinois Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We encourage you, we invite you, we welcome you to follow both these wonderful gentlemen on LinkedIn. Check out their websites. We're going to be checking out their websites. Doug, you have an incredible, illustrious corporate career, manufacturing, just really, kind of the who's that you've worked for. How did you get into manufacturing?
It's interesting. I went to college to be an engineer, and I was your typical nerdy engineer. I'll be honest with you. I took a job in the summertime selling books door to door.
Oh,
and I did that for 4 summers, and who would have thought it? I ended up being pretty good at it. And
really? What kind of books are you selling?
Mostly religious and children's books down in the South. I did it 4 summers and actually made more money in 4 summers going to college than I made in my first 2 years once I got out into the industry.
No kidding.
But anyway, the bottom line of that, the reason why I brought that up is that when I got out of college and was looking for positions, I found that a lot of manufacturers.
He's got it.
Froze just for a second.
We're on the edge.
So he's coming back.
I hear it.
Oh, we lost you, Doug. Man, you left us right on the cliffhanger. So, all right. Well, hopefully, he'll come. Hopefully, he'll be back. You mentioned selling books door to door. So, that would be that would be challenging for me.
Yeah, it would be. It would be definitely something that my summer jobs were much more labor intensive than that. I just tell you. I went that way.
Yeah, selling books. All right,
let's go back to Ryan.
Ryan, just in the South, door to door sounds kind of like an easy sell. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You have a different.
Calling it what it is, man. Right? Calling it what it is. So, all right, Ryan, let's go here. As you started your entrepreneurial journey, did you have a tipping point? Was there an aha moment? I know you mentioned, and I'll tell you another thing that I love that you shared is sometimes we get into situations not so much to find out what we want to do, but to find out what we don't want to do. And I love how you're saying, like, you had bad leadership, so it was a great learning experience for you how not to treat other people or how not to run your business. But just share a little bit about what was the transition, what was the tipping point when you decided to start Imago?
So the whole motivation for doing it is I worked for my stepfather for about 14 years. And it was a great experience. And I had an opportunity to try a lot of things, like I said. It was cool. I get to work with my mom every day. So I got to see her. And, and we all got along fairly well for the most part. And, he kind of got to the point where he was looking to retire. And I was going to buy the business. And we just really we're too far apart on the price on it, Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of said, "Hey, I would say Doug's back."
Got Doug back.
Hey,
yeah. Hey,
sorry about that. I think my internet dropped.
Yeah. So I just kind of decided right then and there that I was gonna. I've said this before, but I'd rather fail on my own than succeed for someone else for another single day, And fortunately, Carrie was on board with it, and gave me her support to pursue it, and so that was the tipping point. That was the beginning of it, and I had the luxury when I started of having a full-time job, so whether I made money or not, was profitable. I had time to build up the business. Yeah. One thing that I did do that I think was instrumental to my success is I always bought brand new machine tools. I never bought anything used. and I finance them. I've always had killer credit, so just with a signature, I could buy anything that I wanted. And the reason I did that is twofold. Number one, I didn't want to ever have to tell a customer that they weren't getting their parts because my machine was down because it was a piece of crap, So, no knock on people. There's a lot of people that believe, I got to pay cash for stuff. I'm going to buy used and fix it up and build it from there. It's like, I'm not in the machine or the business of repairing machines. I'm not in the business of, salvaging these things back from the dead, keeping them going. I'm in the business of selling time on machine tools. That's my business from the very beginning. So I wanted quality stuff that I could count on. But the number one reason I bought it is they'll train you how to use it. So if you don't know necessarily what you're doing, it's a little bit different now. You can go online and take, Titan's got classes that teach you how to, be a machinist, how to program. There's tons of YouTube videos out there. There's inexpensive software like Fusion. And you, as a business, if you're doing it less than $100,000 in revenue, you can get a free seat of that. Which is awesome. But we didn't have that necessarily back then. So I said, hey, I'll buy your machine tool. You got to teach me how to use it. And, I had taken some G code, I programmed some stuff here and there. But, when I was an apprentice, it was all manual equipment. We didn't have any CNC. So manual mill, lathe, sinker EDM, so we're grinding electrodes. So it was this guy was kind of a late adopter to the CNC world, but so I had a good solid traditional foundation of machining, but I didn't have the G code aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so lo and behold, if they want to sell you a machine tool and all they got to do is teach you how to use it, then they're more than willing to do that. So, so that's kind of the number one reason I always bought brand new stuff, because there's a learning curve. Unless you buy an identical piece of equipment, there's a learning curve associated with all of them. Yeah. One controlled to the other, more complexity. We added, more capabilities to our equipment, like live tooling and sub spindles and stuff like that. It got more and more difficult. So having a partner with all of these machine tool vendors was essential to get me off the ground. So that was my mentality. That was the route that I took. And so I had this one car attached garage at my house, and I put a little Haas chucking lathe in there, and I'm standing in my garage on a Saturday, and the guy's standing there training me how to use it. And it was I think it fast tracked you instead of trying to teach yourself. A little less frustrating, it helped me to get it off the ground faster. And so every machine that I bought, same thing too. Once, fast forward to when we started having employees, I'll buy a new machine, but you got to train everybody here how to use it. Now I don't have to do that, so I think that was one of the big benefits of buying new. And that was kind of my philosophy from the very beginning. Yeah. You're paying a little bit of interest. I did start my business, like we've talked about in the past, right during the Great Recession. So I was able to get some really good deals on the equipment, the tooling, and all that stuff. So, it cost me a little bit of money, but I've always thought, what are you missing out on by not bringing that piece of equipment in and saving your money to pay cash for it? Yeah, great. You don't have the debt, but you've got all that lost revenue of opportunity. And so my job was I liked it because it put pressure on me to go out and fill those machines full of work, which I wasn't always successful on, but it was, if I had paid cash for it, maybe you wouldn't have that pressure hanging over your head. Hey, I got to go out and work for it. It's already paid for. It's like, no, I got a $2,500 payment on this thing. I better go out and get some work. And so that's what I did. So
nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. All right, Damon, what do you get? Anything you're going to add? We're going to jump over.
You hit the nail on the head there with people and equipment. You find people that only buy new equipment. There's reasons why. And I think as a startup, if you can do it, it does, as you're saying, it helps a lot with the training, getting people up to speed, making sure that you're going to be real efficient in your production process right from the beginning, rather than, if you're sitting there with old equipment and you got to fix it up to get it going like you want, or it kind of works. And like you said, you're the new machine shop on the street, and you get your first order from somebody and your machine goes down and you can't do it because your machine's down. Well, how's that going to look?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just takes one of the variables out of it.
Yeah. So, all right, Doug, let's see how things are going on your end. Are you with us? Is Doug with us? Looks like he's not.
He's stuck on the screen.
Very, very still, or he froze again.
Yeah, he's
right. All right,
very still.
Ryan, we're going to dive into Imago, and the question is, as you're describing Imago, do me a favor, and I'm going to pull up the website here in a second. Share with folks Imago Manufacturing. How do you and your team, how do you guys make the world a better place? What exactly do you guys do?
So we're, I think in the traditional sense, we're considered a job shop. What we like to do is we like to run turned parts with milled features unattended. That's kind of our forte. So we like to specialize in production. Obviously, based on my website video loop here, we do plenty of milling work. We have 5-axis milling capability. We do obviously some chucking work, but we like to kind of do more complex parts that would be considered like a mill turn part. So like on this example here to the right, that part there, we're dropping that off complete. And we've since even updated the process where we're dropping that off with the broached keyways in it right off the machine. So it's kind of where we like to dwell, is in that volume production of CNC mill turn parts. And I don't know if we're making it a better place by that, but some of the things that we're doing that are a little bit unique, like I said, we're doing the lights out manufacturing. Our philosophy, I've challenged my guys this year to, no matter what, no matter the volume, the order quantity, the workload, if a part can be run unattended, we're going to run it unattended. And we've got a whole process where, I did another podcast recently where we talk all about that. So I won't go into the weeds with that, but that's kind of where we are different, is no matter what, if that machine can be running, even if the machine's done and there's not another job for 3 weeks after it to fill it up, we're living in the lights out world 24/7 here. So we no matter what, will always go that route and run it lights out. One of the things that we're doing that's fairly unique, you don't see it a lot in manufacturing, is that we do have a solar array that is attached to the shop. It's 48 kilowatts, and it offsets a good chunk of our usage here. So, it's something that we did for a bunch of reasons, mostly economic. It's good for the environment, but let's face it, if it wasn't economically feasible, good, relatively short ROI, most people are going to spend $100,000 out of the kindness of their heart. So we did it to kind of, offset some of our footprint on the planet. With that said, we've got 6 CNC machines here. You can see from this video that they're, top of the line pieces of equipment that were all purchased brand new. We're running everything off of 200 amps of power. We have 200 amps of 3-phase power. It runs all 6 CNCs simultaneously and all the support equipment that goes with it. So, this idea that you need, this huge amount of electricity to power modern machine tools, it's not true. And we have 800 amps available to us. You just don't need it at this point. So in that sense, I think that this industry, especially with the late model equipment, it like sips energy. We're not using all this crazy amount of power. So and then when we originally installed the system, you kind of have to make a decision of like how big of a system are you going to do it. We chose to offset 105% of our usage at the time, but as we've continued to grow, that we're not offsetting nearly as much as when we started. The temptation is to let's put a giant panel up and offset all of our energy for eternity. The problem is that the way it works is if you don't consume it, you don't get a check written back to you. It just sits on a bill credit. So all you're doing is giving ComEd free energy at that point. So we decided to do, like an offset of that. So, in a way to, we're saying, hey, we're making the world a better place. That's one way that I feel that we're setting ourselves apart from most machine shops out there. I know there's some other shops out there that are doing it. Some have some pretty large scale solar arrays, but it's still fairly unique in this industry.
I've heard of a couple, but not many. That's for sure. And it's cool because like you said, it helps to just offset cost. And once you got the ROI, the equipment's paid for. That's a cost benefit for you down the road.
Yeah. I mean, that's a sunk cost too when you pay for electricity. It's kind of like, it's not sexy. It's not, romantic. It's like, cool, I just spent $2,000 on electricity this month, Where, if you spent $2,000 on a, new chuck or cutting tool or something, people get excited about that. So, so, being energy efficient and then having some, solar offsets really, I think, in my mind, it just made good business sense. So that's why we did it. And then all the other things are just bonuses. So
cool.
Makes good sense. SE and good sense CENTS. How's that? So both sides, right?
Yeah.
So all right, Doug, let's see if we can get you back in the game here. How are you, dude?
Oh man, sorry, I'm having a little problem. My internet's a little unstable. I'm glad I get the chance to finish the story because you asked me how I got in manufacturing, and all I talked about was selling books, and you probably figured out what the heck
you left us on the edge of our seat. You're like,
but what I was going to say was that when I graduated college, when I was interviewing, I found that a lot of companies were looking for engineers who knew how to sell, and that was kind of a hard mix. You don't usually see that so much. So I had I also found out that those jobs are about twice as much. We're paying twice as much as the standard engineering job. So I took one of those and I went to work selling electrical equipment for the Square D company, and then from there I just kind of fast tracked up through management and got into marketing management and then got into operations. So my track to manufacturing was really kind of from an odd angle, but it got me in, and like I said, got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas from sales to marketing to operations. So it actually puts me in a pretty good position to be able to work in this job because all those pieces come into play with the manufacturer. You know, I'm going to tell a story on Ryan. Can I do that?
Yeah, please do.
I hope he doesn't mind. I have to tell you, I talk with a lot of manufacturers, and a lot of them are small. And I find that more often than not, leaders at small manufacturers are working in the business and not on the business.
Yeah.
And I get it. I do. Resources can be scarce. Owners wear lots of hats. The bills have to be paid, and not getting product out the door, can be a business threatening event. And Ryan faces a lot of those same challenges every single day. But one of the first things I picked up about Ryan is he has this burning desire to be better and to do whatever it takes, extra hours in the evenings, weekends, whatever, to invest time in working on the business to make it better. So I have a ton of respect for this guy. And, I just wanted to get that out there because I think he mentioned that he has that attitude. He wants to be an entrepreneur, but it is a rare commodity for small businesses where the owners want to get better all the time, and they're willing to do what it takes to do it. And this guy does it. So I just want to say that about him.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's nice. I think it's an honest assessment, So yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are so mired down, and it's hard to break free of that.
It is.
Step out and say, all right, well, this is what I got to do. I look at it as like, hey, I got guys that are counting on me. I got to keep them busy. That's my main focus. Is like, how do I keep those guys out there busy with work? So, and by working on the business, that's the only way you're going to do it. If you're always constantly putting out fires, it's very hard to focus on that stuff. So, and shout out to them. I don't have to babysit them. They're all really, really good guys that do a really good job. So, I've worked hard to assemble a good group, and now I can take advantage of that and take that time. I don't have to micromanage them. I give them the tools they need to succeed, and I step away and do what I need to do. So, it is, but it's important. You're right. It's not something that you can just hope that it'll take care of itself, because it just doesn't. So yeah, I appreciate the kind words. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, that's a great observation, Damon. And I know you and I had front row seat to witness that with Ryan as well. Ryan, what would you kind of piggybacking on that? What would you attribute your leadership success, or just like building a team? What do you contribute that success to?
I mean, obviously some of it's luck. Some of it's, I think my attitude and my vision for the business, I think it's attractive. We've talked about this a lot, but, we all have things that we'd rather be doing, in all honesty. Yeah, work's great and it should be fulfilling. And when we're here, we're working our asses off.
Right.
I don't ever have a problem with guys taking half an hour shits. I don't have.
Is that a first?
Yeah.
That might be a first on the show. Right?
So I don't know how else to say it, but I don't have to yell at them to get off their phones. If they're ever on their phones because they're using a calculator, and so it helps that those guys make it easy. Yeah, I've set some expectations from the very beginning. If we get new, especially kids nowadays, when they come in, they're married to the phone, and I just, I'll pull them aside and say, listen, I don't want to see that phone unless it's an emergency, and most people, I haven't had anybody that's had an issue with that. But, we have interesting, engaging work here too, that most of the time you wake up and you come to work and it's like, well, I can't believe that the day's gone already, So yeah, it helps that they make it easy. But I also try and lead by example. At this point, yeah, I ask people to do stuff that I no longer do, but up until this point, never asked anybody to do something that I was unwilling to do myself or haven't done myself. But I think we've established a culture here where working is a means to an end. It's not our entire lives. We're working so we can do the things that we would rather be doing in this world. And so with that said, we really only work 40-hour work weeks here. On the off chance that we work overtime, it's on Fridays, we work 4 9s and a 4 on Friday. So if there's overtime, we can backfill 5 hours in. They're still working a 9 and they still have their entire weekend with available.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been my philosophy all along, is like, hey, let's get in, bust our asses, get out, and go do the stuff that we want to do. And that's been my mentality. And I've yet to find somebody that's like, no, I want to work more. Like this is not enough work. And then having a good work environment. It's a modern shop. Like I said, machine tools are all bought brand new. They're all late model. And then, we're constantly challenging ourselves with, new technology, new software, new training. And so it doesn't get boring either. Yeah, there's some times where you're, chucking some parts for, 5 days, but the rest of the time it's pretty, mentally engaging to the point where, it's still work, but we try and make it, like when people visit my shop, everybody's like, wow, this is a cool place, and my canned response to that is, yeah, it beats working for a living, and that's really the mentality that we want, to have here. Yeah, we're all highly skilled. The parts that are going out the door are the best that money could buy. But we've leveraged unattended machining to continue to grow. And that way we don't have to physically be in the building to be making money. And that's really the genius of the whole thing, So,
yeah.
And so you get buy-in with the guys and they're like, hey, we get these parts up and running. We dial it in, get it running unattended, and we can go home. They love that, So, my goal when I used to drive a truck, and we'd get paid for 9 hours, no matter how long it took to finish the route. My goal every day was to get paid to drink beer. That was my goal. So, and it was a great incentive. It was like, hey, let's hustle. Bam! Every day I was done in 7.5 hours. I was getting paid to drink beer for an hour, and I was a professional beer drinker for that stretch.
That's awesome, dude. I absolutely love that. So,
That's
Doug,
awesome.
let's. I know we're going to be coming into time. So, Doug, real quick. So, for folks that are not familiar with IMEC and or the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, just share real quick. Who is IMEC, and how are you guys making manufacturing better in Illinois?
IMEC is a public-private organization and an extension of the U.S. Department of Commerce, National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. And NIST oversees a network of organizations across the U.S. that are dedicated to helping manufacturers improve their operations, increase their profitability, maintain a competitive edge in the marketplace. And so IMEC is the Illinois piece of this national network. There's one in every state. IMEC is the one for Illinois. And, we're a team of professionals with a wide range of expertise in manufacturing, operations, leadership, strategy, marketing, technology, workforce development. And, we've helped literally thousands of manufacturers across Illinois, to improve their operations and achieve sustainable growth. So that's the thumbnail of what we do. I don't want to spend too much time on it because this is Ryan's show, but that's kind of who we are.
Well, thank you for kind of seeing that
for a minute.
Sorry?
Can I speak on my experience with IMEC?
Yeah.
That was
that'd
going to be
awesome.
the next question. So,
Okay, so, yeah.
absolutely.
So, this is where, I feel like there's not enough people taking advantage of it, what they have to offer. I've probably done, I don't know, at least half a dozen grant funded programs so far through IMEC. And basically what they do is they facilitate the grants that are out there. They not only make you aware of them, but they help you, apply for them, and then they hold the people on the other side of the grant receiving money accountable for the project. And then at the end of it, they check in to make sure, hey, were your tax dollars spent properly? Did you get the value expected out of it? And what do you expect out of it too? Whenever I have the opportunity, I tell everybody about this. And forget who was the guy, who was my IMEC rep right before you, Doug?
Dean.
Yeah.
Barnes,
Dean, he came up to me. He's like, we're funded by the government, so he's like, I legally can't, but he's like, I'd love to take you out for dinner and drinks one of these days because of all the people you've told through the years, about this. I mean, we got ISO certified through IMEC. They offset almost all the costs for that. We've done a bunch of marketing stuff. One of the best things that IMEC did for me is they established a relationship with my local county manufacturing partner. And now I don't even have to go to IMEC to get training grants. I have a relationship with Pete Hall from McHenry County. And I just go to Pete and say, hey, we bought this new piece of equipment that we need training on. He's like, here, you know what to do. I fill out the grant and he approves it and we get training. We just have to keep training logs from the guy that did the training or woman. And, and we've done probably half a dozen of those training grants as well on top of the programs at IMEC. So I've been a huge cheerleader for them. They've helped me out tremendously. And so, I definitely am grateful to them for helping people like us out because, it's me. I don't have a grant finding arm of Imago Manufacturing.
Yeah.
That's what IMEC is. They're my partner in that stuff. And Dean, if you're watching this, you can buy me dinner on your own nickel one of these days, but
it'll have to be on his own.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of been my experience and what I wanted to say about IMEC. And I would encourage anybody that's watching this to, if you're not taking advantage out there of these programs, they're going to go away if you don't take advantage of them. It's one of those things where they get reviewed after every project and every year, and if no one's taking advantage of it, then it goes away. So I try and get as many people to get involved with this because let's face it, I'm anytime I can get some of my tax dollars back in any form, I'm all for it. So this is this is money you're paying in. We're all paying into it. Take advantage of it because it's there for the taking, and there's actual tangible results that you can get from this stuff. So that's what I would say about it.
Appreciate the kind words, but I'll tell you, I'll reemphasize. It takes someone who wants to learn, who wants to get better. And
right.
You have that inquisitive mind, you have that the desire to make your company better, and you seek out all possible opportunities to do that. So, a lot of the credit goes to you. We're just a resource, but you're the one that makes it happen.
Yeah.
Just a
awesome.
steward.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
Doug,
awesome.
that's awesome. And Ryan, thank you. Thank you
Thanks,
for the
guys.
kind words to IMEC. And again, you know, you're doing an amazing, incredible job. I know we're coming into time. I want to ask you a quick question. So for folks that are following us, you're catching it live or you're catching us on a replay, we encourage you, we invite you, welcome you, join Catch Ryan on LinkedIn. He's got a ton of YouTube shorts.
Yep.
He's all over social media now. Ryan, just for manufacturers out there, how do you like we're working on Stop Being the Best Kept Secret.
Right.
Just talk a little bit about like how you've been enjoying kind of that transition of marketing. What's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, working with you guys, I'll share a quick story. So I recently just did a podcast, the Making Chips guys. You guys know them.
Yep.
They have a podcast under that umbrella called Lights Out. And one of the first things we did with this project was dial in my LinkedIn page. You know, just kind of had a picture of me, didn't have a banner, it was short on content. And, you know, I hadn't really been very active on LinkedIn. One of the things you guys recommended was, hey, let's change your title under your name. It just said CEO before, and it was, you know, CEO at this level, completely arbitrary. Nobody cares. You know, it's like, who are you? Yeah, I'm the guy that, you know, cleans the bathrooms and writes the paychecks, you know? Right. So we kind of said, you guys said, hey, well, let's put like, what do you do? You know, and I'm like, well, I run everything. No, like, what do you do? So we kind of honed in on, you know, running a precision CNC machine shop, Lights Out. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Precision CNC machining company running lights out with modern equipment. Which, you know, it's like, well, at the end of the day, who cares? So I reached out to Nick from Making Chips, and I just, you know, was trying to build my network. Wasn't trying to get on this podcast or anything. And, you know, he's very active on all this stuff. And I've been listening to Making Chips from the very beginning. So I sent him a connection request with a note and said, hey, Nick, been a fan of Making Chips from the beginning. Would you care to connect? And we've been doing a lot of that with just people, like-minded people in the industry. And he clicked through on my profile, and the very first thing he read, it's right there under your name. You know, he saw the lights out and he said, hell yeah, I want to connect. And, oh, by the way, we have a podcast called Lights Out. Maybe we should talk, you know? And it's like, you know, it's just it seems arbitrary. It seems, you know, kind of silly. Like, why would it matter? That's why it matters. That's why stuff like that matters, you know? You never know who you're talking to and what you're putting out there, you know? So I think stuff like that, you know, we could, you know, there's other wins that we had on that whole thing, but that was one that, you know, opened up an opportunity to do that podcast. And, you know, because of the podcast, I was able to connect with some other people. And, you know, if nothing else, you meet cool, like-minded people that you can, you know, have something, you know, relatable to talk about with, you know. And really that's, you know, kind of what we, you know, the three of us and the rest of your team, we're just about telling the story of Imago, telling the journey of me and what we're all about. And, you know, if it resonates with people, kind of like, you know, my experience with IMEC, you know, I have a good experience with IMEC. I'm telling everybody that I run into about it, you know. People like what I have to say and what we're all about and what we're doing here. You know, maybe they'll share that message with somebody who needs machining one of these days. And if not, we're still going to keep putting that message out there. So I think that's really the importance of it. You know, people feel like, oh, I got to do marketing. I got to sell. It's like, you know what? How about you just take some time out of your day, you know, here and there. You don't have to babysit it, and just tell your story. And, you know, maybe it'll resonate with somebody that, you know, you never know who is going to be watching or listening or seeing what you're putting out there. So, So that's kind of, the direction that we took with this. So, and I think it's, we've seen some results, which is exciting. So,
Nice.
I absolutely love it. And so very inspiring, and just, for small, and it, it doesn't matter what field you're in, like you said, hey, I'm an entrepreneur that happens to be in machining. So for those small manufacturers out there, and like you're saying, Doug, like work on your business, get yourself out there, because like, I don't know about you guys, nobody's ever knocked on my door and said, hey, can I give you money? Hey, can I do business with you? Unless it's like Doug knocking on my door, trying to sell me books. Right. So, well, Doug, we'll start winding down. I know I could keep you guys all day. We're coming into the bottom of the hour. What are you excited about moving forward at IMEC, manufacturers like our friend here, Ryan at Imago? What are you excited about for manufacturing in Illinois going for the rest of the year?
Oh gosh, we're just we're growing so fast. I mean, we're developing experience in areas that we weren't able to cover before. We're expanding into supply chain. Nice. We're enhancing our ability to work with technology and help clients implement technology. There's so many things. In the past, IMEC was kind of an operations centric organization. We did a lot of lean stuff, but over the years, we've expanded to cover, the 6 major pillars of manufacturing, and that's what excites me. Is I see stronger and stronger people coming into our organization every day, and also we have a tremendous list of partners like yourselves that we work with. If we don't have the experience internally, we have some of the best in the business that we can tap into to provide that for our clients. So, that's in a nutshell. I'm just excited about being here. I love this. I love the work. I think it's good work that we do. And, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
That's your stories. And again, I'd be remiss if we start listing off all the people on your team, because I know I'll leave out somebody, but huge, Jacqueline did an amazing job with your website. So if you're out there, you're a manufacturer in Illinois, check out the IMEC Illinois IMEC Illinois website. And I'll tell you, just go on there, put in an inquiry, connect with the folks on LinkedIn. Again, like huge list: Melissa, Jacqueline, Dave Belay, Ray Zagano, Paula. We could, I'm Michelle Fawcett, Jeannie, Mike Flynn. We could go on and on and on. So anybody I forgot, I'm just, I'm with you.
There's probably only about 40 or so.
There's about 40 or 50 people I left out right there, right? So, all right, lots of love and big shout out to the entire team at IMEC. I tell you what you guys do, Cassie, Noah, I got a couple more there, Damon. But, the whole team is just going up and down the state helping manufacturers. And it's just so inspiring. And every time we bring somebody on the show, Doug, it's just the common thread is just their unapologetic passion for just helping manufacturers like Ryan. And so, Ryan, I have to say, dude, manufacturing is the heartbeat, is really the heroes of our economy. So we applaud and salute you for what you're doing. As we wrap up, what are you super excited about moving forward at Imago Manufacturing?
So our goal this year, in addition to, adopting just the lights out mentality on every single job that we run, is to increase capacity without adding any more CNC machines or people. So that's our directive. So we're looking to automate quality control. So some sort of either vision system or CMM or a combination of the two, that we can offload some of the more tedious QC jobs that we're currently doing. And then another big thing that we're looking to do is add robotic machine tending to our mill. Our mill, I feel, is underutilized compared to our bar-fed lathes. We do a lot of milling on our lathes, so that's, kind of our focus has been to do as much milling on the lathes as possible, and then only do true milling jobs on the mill. But I want to grow that side of the business. So those are our 2 main areas where we're going to be, bringing in some new technology, new equipment, challenging the guys to learn and implement that stuff. And then in addition to that, our big focus is to build on the momentum of the social media marketing that we've we want to keep that rolling, and we've got some traction now. So we want to keep pushing, stuff out there that tells our story, shows our quality, our commitment, our innovation. Those are all the things that we want to continue to showcase. So those will be the main focus of my attention this year. And so we've got a clear-cut path to do that. So
awesome.
Man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Damon, you ready to run through a wall or what right now? Huh?
Let's go.
Let's do it. So, all right, we're going to wrap up. Doug, last question for you guys. Best business advice that you would like to share with anybody out there? What's the best business advice that you've received or that you'd like to pass along that you share with clients or anybody else that's listening?
Oh boy, stay curious. Stay. It's like I was saying before. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. Yeah. It's really easy to get caught up. I say to some people, ask yourself, am I getting better at getting better? And that, if you can't answer that question with a yes, then you're probably in that hamster wheel loop, So try to jump outside of that, like Ryan does. Try to learn about how you can get better. Bring people in, talk to them. Get involved in networks, whatever it takes to learn what people are doing to get their business better, and don't get caught in the day-to-day.
Awesome.
Drop the mic, man. Are you getting better at getting better, man? We might have to make t-shirts of that one. So Ryan, as we close this out,
that's my next tattoo.
That's your next tattoo. Am I getting better at getting better? I don't know if you got much real estate left for tattoos. Do you? Do you have any spots left?
I just I'll do it on my left butt cheek or something. I don't know. But
in a big heart with Doug, right? So,
right.
So Ryan, how about for yourself, my friend? So as just a really incredibly inspiring entrepreneur, best advice that you would share either with your younger self or an entrepreneur out there, what's best business advice that you've received?
I don't know. I hate to go out on a negative tone, but I just kind of, I always think of jokingly, I always say, hey, if you can sleep at night with, $1 million in debt, absolutely no work on the horizon, employees that you still have to pay, and a family that needs supporting, then you should definitely get into the manufacturing space. If you can't sleep with that, if you're going to stay up at night, do not do this, because it's not all peaches and cream. There's definitely really, really high highs and really, really low lows. And that's my business advice, because, I think a lot of people get into it and think, well, yeah, it's great, I'll just make parts. And it's like, well, they don't really understand, what it takes to get there and grow it and be successful. So it's a cautionary tale, but that's kind of what I think of. I did have one guy that told me, and he didn't come up with this, and maybe you guys have heard it, but owning your own business is a lot like wrestling a gorilla. You don't quit when you get tired. You quit when the gorilla gets tired. So that's kind of, I had that framed and put that up in the old shop. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Man, I'll tell you, some best lines right there to both of you. So, man, I'll tell you, from the bottom of both of our hearts, I'm speaking for myself and Damon, and everybody listening. Thank you both, man. How about a big round of applause for our friends here? This was just what a great conversation. So,
awesome.
Doug, thank you for everything that you're doing for manufacturers at IMEC. Keep the fire burning. Ryan, thank you for everything that you're doing, dude. And thanks for not being the best kept secret anymore, dude. Like, you're all over the place on LinkedIn. You're on social media. You've got YouTube videos going. So again, we applaud you, salute you, commend you, doing just awesome work. So Damon, are you ready to close? Should we close this baby out?
I'll close it down here. I just want to say thanks to everyone that was listening out there. We can see we had the listeners out there, and thanks for you that were dropping comments today. Everyone out there, we appreciate you stopping by, listening to the replays, all the comments we get throughout after the show. if you got in here late and you didn't catch this from the beginning, you're going to want to go back to the beginning and listen to Ryan tell his story, Doug talking about IMEC Illinois, and really learning how the topic today we're talking about is SEO success for manufacturers, how Imago Manufacturing teamed up with IMEC and us here at B2Btail to, just see what we can make things happen. And it was awesome. So have a great weekend, everyone. Doug, Ryan, hang out with us for a moment. We'll shut down and finish up offline.